What's up, my comic comrades? We're jumping back into Marvel's relatively new miniseries, What If Miles Morales, focusing on what if Miles became different characters in the Marvel Universe. So far, we've seen Miles become Captain America and Wolverine, which we covered in this video right here, and today we're gonna find out what happens when Miles becomes the Incredible Hulk. So let's dive in. The issue starts off with the Prowler perched in the rafters of a warehouse waiting for a client captioned before. He decides to leave once they hit 6 minutes late, but hears a noise and goes to investigate. He puts the person he finds in a chokehold and asks who he is, but sees 3 other men aiming guns at him from the side. The man in charge says, "No worries, my friend. The name's Emil Blonsky, and I'm here to discuss business." My fellow Marvel connoisseurs might recognize that Emil Blonsky is the real name of Abomination, so I'm pretty sure this is foreshadowing. The Prowler responds, "Emil? So you're Victor's boss?" And Emil answers, "Unfortunately, this meeting is above his pay grade." Blonsky continues to express how the Prowler is highly admired among his employers before showing him a newspaper titled "Dr. Bruce Banner Makes Historic Atomic Discovery." He then explains that because Banner's discovery was funded by the American government and can fit in a suitcase, the Kremlin thinks it might be a developmental mini gamma bomb, and he wants Prowler to steal it when Banner meets with Tony Stark at Stark Labs. Prowler answers, "I appreciate the offer, but I was meeting with Victor tonight to let him know my days of robbing folks are done. You see, there's a special young man I need to start setting an example for, so you'll just have to hire someone else to handle that for you." But Blonsky responds, "I'm afraid there's a misunderstanding, Mr. Davis," which shocks the Prowler, asking, "How the hell do you know my name?" Blonsky continues to say, "Based on the debt you owe to my bosses, the only choice you have in the matter is whether they live or die," as he shows Prowler a picture of his brother, his sister-in-law, and his nephew, Miles Morales. Furious, the Prowler has no choice but to agree to do the job. We then get captions of Miles Morales saying to someone, "So Doc, where exactly are we starting today?" The doctor answers, "From the beginning, if that's alright with you, Miles." But Miles asks, "You sure about that?" The doctor replies, "Yes. Why do you ask?" And Miles finally says, "'Cause I'm not sure if you would like me when I'm angry," as we see a panel of Miles jolting up from bed, covered in sweat with green glowing eyes. After Miles' eyes go green, we're taken to Avengers Mansion where Miles is having a conversation with his therapist, Dr. Sampson. They talk about why Miles thinks he would get so angry talking about his past, with his answer basically being that he gets annoyed thinking about his Uncle Aaron and how someone he looked up to so much led a secret life as a criminal, the Prowler, knowingly putting his family he loves at risk. And that if Aaron wasn't a criminal, none of this would have happened and Miles wouldn't be a Hulk getting therapy. Doc Sampson asks, "Do you remember exactly when these feelings of anger began to manifest?" And Miles replies, "Oh, that's easy," starting another flashback captioned "Before." In the flashback, Miles explains he was at his Uncle Aaron's apartment to tell Aaron that he won the lottery to go to Brooklyn Visions Academy. But Aaron was arguing with someone on the phone. In the living room, Miles saw a spider on a crazy-looking briefcase with a caption of him ironically saying, "I've never mentioned this, but I absolutely hate spiders." And he tries to swat the spider, knocking over the briefcase and stepping on one of the radioactive cartridges, causing an explosion of gamma radiation. Sampson asks, "So your transformation took place at your uncle's apartment?" But Miles responds, "Not exactly," as we see him jolting out of bed like before, but from a different angle. He explains that he blames himself for that being the last time his father and uncle talked, them having argued because of the explosion. And that same night, he couldn't sleep. Thinking he was sick, he went to the bathroom to see in the mirror that he was completely green. Doc Sampson asks if he told his parents, and Miles responds, "You really think I would tell my parents something like that? My mom would have probably freaked out and shipped me off to the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. I'm not built for that." So Sampson asks if he kept this a secret from everyone, and Miles explains that the only person he confided in was his best friend Genki, who he was only able to convince when he accidentally stepped on a Lego and hulked out a bit. He also explains how helpful Genki was early on, showing a time when Genki covered Miles up and calmed him down when he got mad and turned green at school. Doc Sampson goes on to say, "It's good to know you had some type of support system while you were coming to terms with your transformation. I surmise this is what you were fearful of earlier, becoming angered." Miles says, "Yes," and Sampson continues, "I understand your caution. However, I fail to see exactly why you're nervous about transforming. Outside of slightly enhanced muscular and green skin, there seems to have been no instance of your causing any harm to yourself or others." But Miles responds, "Unfortunately, Doc, that's not the case. I have harmed someone. I killed him." And going into another flashback, Miles narrates, "I remember overhearing my uncle discussing meeting up with the person he was on the phone with at an old warehouse in Red Hook 2 days after my accident at 9. I don't know why, but my intuition told me that whomever my uncle was meeting had something to do with whatever was inside that case. What came next hit me like a ton of bricks, something that broke my heart before it eventually shattered. Seeing one of New York's most notorious criminals handing that briefcase to that guy and realizing that underneath the mask was my uncle." The Prowler hands Blonsky the case, and while Blonsky is praising him, Prowler raises an arm laser saying, "I don't take kindly to anyone threatening my family, especially my nephew," as he shoots Blonsky in the back, causing him to drop the briefcase and spill the gamma capsules. As they hit the ground, they explode and Blonsky gets covered in gamma radiation, and surprise to no one, on the next page, Blonsky turns into Abomination just like in the main 616 universe. Blonsky, now the Abomination, picks up Prowler by the head while Miles is narrating, "All All of these feelings hit me at once. I was heartbroken, scared, nervous, frightened, confused. And as Abomination crushes the Prowler's head, flashback Miles screams, "No," while Miles finishes narrating, but most of all, angry, as we see Miles completely turn into the Hulk for the first time. Miles continues explaining to Samson, "All of my rage came pouring out and it just took over." I don't know if you know what that feels like. To have that much pain in your heart just spill out all at once. To lose control. It's the scariest feeling ever. I never knew I was capable of murder. To watch my uncle murdered by that monster, watching myself turn into one, knowing that everything was his fault. It's been years, Doc, and I still can't understand why he chose the life he did. Because if he didn't, I wouldn't have to live with this anger holed up. And as Miles is saying this, we see in the flashback Hulk Miles gruesomely beat Abomination to death. Then back in Avengers Mansion, Miles asks, "How do I learn to live with that? The anger, the disappointment," as we see him beginning to turn green and tense up. Dr. Samson kneels next to him and says, "You learn to embrace it. The anger you felt, it wasn't malevolent. It was compassion, the love you have for your family, the love you have for your uncle. Everything we've spoken about has been about those you cherish the most. Your mother, your father, Uncle Aaron, Genki. The people who make you who you are. The way you control the monster inside is to envision it as not a symptom of anger, but a manifestation of affection. And once you are able to accept those feelings, you could use that newfound strength inside of you to protect the ones you love, just like your uncle did." Miles has now completely turned into the Hulk, kneeling on the floor crying, and Samson continues to say, "Sometimes it takes forgiving the monsters that are lurking inside in order for us to embark on the journey of becoming a hero." And the issue ends with Samson hugging a crying Miles Morales Hulk. I thought this was a clever take on Miles Morales' origin if he had become the Hulk, and I like how things were tied to his uncle similar to his 616 universe origin. Honestly, I was expecting more action in this book since, well, it's the Hulk, so it surprised me that we got to see more of how feelings and controlling emotions is a major component for any Hulk. But what do you guys think of this issue? Are you enjoying the Miles Morales What If series? Let us know in the comments. And that's going to bring today's episode to a close, but if you enjoyed this video, check out this one right here, and if you like all of our content, like, subscribe, and comment, you know the deal. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.